Welcome to Conversations from the Barn at Everwood Farmstead. These are casual chats with visiting artists. Creaky barn, bugs, and all. Enjoy.
Hi, this is Chris. I'm here with Warren, and this evening we are so pleased to be with Juliet, Patterson, and Beth Griffin, who have been here with us this whole week. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How has your week been?
Good. We're like at sleep camp over there. We both walked in that door and we're like, you know what I really need? I need to sleep. So there's been a lot of that happening.
Good for you. We've talked about this a lot on the podcast. When we were benchmarking for what we wanted to do here, there were two things we wanted to do very differently. One, not have any fees for coming, first of all. But second, not to have proof of concept at the end of the week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We just wanted to open it up and say whatever happens, happens. And what we hear a lot, what happens is you get to take a nap rather than feel a deadline looming in the next 5 days.
And I think Molly mentioned that on the first day we were here, that, we've both done other residencies and are pretty rehearsed in this kind of activity, but generally they want you to show up with a product at the end, and that can be really stressful. So it's really nice just to come somewhere and feel open. And it is true, I have taken at least 3 naps, so I'm grateful for that.
It's only Thursday. You can still
true.
fit in at least 2 more naps.
Yeah. We really, I think, undervalue rest in our culture. And I'm trying to rest more. So
I think particularly with artists, the struggle of what does productivity actually look like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you share what you're both working on this week?
You want me to start?
Yeah, I want you to
Juliet? Okay. Well, the last time I was here, I have been here once before, and I had a novel that I wanted to write it was pandemic times, and I had set it aside for 2 years, and it was kind of driving me crazy. So I came knowing that I wanted to jump into that, and I wrote a lot of pages, and it was very productive and all of that. And this time, I really didn't know what I was going to want to do. So that's sort of scary, as the unknown of that, and just trusting that stuff would show up. And it has. I mean, I am resting more. I think the last time I did not rest enough. I was working really hard, and I wanted to chill out a little bit this time. So I am. But generally, I'm walking with my camera, and I'm coming back and writing a little bit from that, from whatever happened out there. And some picture book manuscripts have come kind of from that, and also a little bit of poetry and some photos. So that's all been great, and little things, but good little things, and a handful of them. So between the reading and the sleeping and the writing a handful of little things, I think it's been a good balance.
Is the Mama Robin going to make an appearance somewhere?
Maybe. It's possibly the best photo I've ever taken is of Mama Robin. Actually, the baby. I'll show it to you. It's a podcast, so you can't show a photo on the podcast.
We could show a photo in
but
the
explain
materials.
where the robin
I'll
is.
send it.
Yeah.
So there's a robin nest on the deck, like right next to the deck, so we can see her sitting on her nest from our, lunch table, and then one of those eggs hatched, and so we have a tiny bald, cute, not cute, ugly, ugly cute baby that the mama is bringing worms to and stuff. So it's hard to see in there because she doesn't want us to, but we're keeping a little eye on that excitement unfolding, which is even funnier because they were building a door.
Oh, right
there.
Yeah.
And she must have freaked out. I don't know, but she
sat
through it.
Yeah, she sat through it.
And
Most
that
of
baby
it,
came that night,
yeah.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
So,
She knew something was pending.
Yeah.
Something important.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
How about for you?
Well, I came here, I'm sort of in the middle of something. I've spent about a year researching for a project, and I have been writing really scattershot. It's a prose project, and I should say I'm a poet primarily, but this is maybe my second prose project. And when I write prose, it's so painful and so slow. So it's a little bit different than where Molly is. And I had hoped that when I got here, I would get some clarity about the direction of where this project is going. I can't say that that has happened entirely, but to have this time has been really helpful just to look. I've got, 60 pages of what I imagine is a short, big essay, 100 pages or something. So I'm maybe halfway through. Just to have the time to really live in it. And I've had bad days and good days for that reason, but today was a good day, so I'll take it. And it's work that, it's kind of a cultural, personal essay that is examining politics, so that's kind of hard. It's heady. So being in a natural setting has really helped kind of balance that vibe out, I guess.
It can ground you.
It's been very grounding, and I wouldn't say that. I guess what's happened here is that I've been able to bring myself into the piece a little more, and a layer of emotion, which was kind of what was missing. It was more kind of historical and flat, so that's been really useful.
I'm so curious about the creative process of making something, and the relationship with the thing.
Yeah.
There is I'm a graphic designer, and there is kind of the introductory of the making, and I have an idea, and you're putting the pieces in, and then it takes a breath. You've got to stop making and start responding. It's become something, and you're in it, but it's a new thing, and I don't know. I've been doing it for decades, and it's still uncomfortable and still wonderful and still a mystery. Can you talk about that at all? Is that familiar to you in your own process?
I think, you just articulated it beautifully. I always envy people who have visual talent. So I think when you're working with words specifically, and only words, they're abstract by their nature, right? And so then you're using this abstract tool to try to concretize something, a feeling, which is a little bit different than visual acuity, I think. Visual expression, for me, cuts to the bone of emotion, whereas words get in the way a lot of times, at least for me. But yeah, you're right. I think maybe what you just said is the experience I've just had in the last 4 days, where I got to look at my raw 60 pages and sort of have tea with it and understand, this is what you need. I was trying to maybe control it or be anxious about it. Instead, I'm creating more of a relationship with it. So there's a lot of problems I still have to solve, but at least I feel like it has a life now, and maybe it had a life, but I didn't have the space to sort of befriend it.
Befriend it.
That's really lovely.
Oh, that's so nice.
I like to have tea with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I've been working on really short form stuff, which is my happy place. And so the story that happened from here, from photos from walks, is about I'm looking at Juliet and laughing because I was telling her I was info dumping about sapsucker woodpeckers.
Yellow-bellied
sapsucker that drill sap wells, and then other creatures come and eat at them. And I found a tree that had tons and tons of little sap wells all lined up, and hummingbirds coming and drinking from it. And so, that clearly wants to be a picture book. So I, did some research to figure out what was going on, and then I kind of spewed it out in the form of telling somebody a cool thing that you learned. And then over a couple of days of having to go back to it because I'm here and that's what I'm here for, trying to find like what form that actually wanted to take to be a story and not just a, information. So I landed on something I think I like, but I did like 3 really, really different versions that were, just a different voice or a different point of view or whatever to get at the thing that I actually the third one is kind of a cut and paste and then a melding of the other 2. So now I'm pretty happy with it. I can bring it to my writing group when I get home. And I have no idea. With picture books, I just make a ton of stuff and kind of throw it at the wall, and there's so much that's beyond my control about what actually becomes a book. But it's fun to go out in the woods and learn something cool and turn it into a story. So that's the kind of evolution of that over 3 days, because it's all compressed here because you have time to go right back and have tea with it the next day and see what it wants to be.
You just answered kind of my next question about community. We had collaborators here last week, musician and a playwright, and that exchange back and forth. And I have to imagine that writing is this is solo work. And how do you build community around it? Do you crave community around it? You mentioned a writer's group.
Yeah, I mean, you need it. You write alone and then you need your people. Nobody can revise their own stuff just by themselves. I don't think you need fresh eyes and help. And sometimes just writing next to people. I mean, you don't have to be working on the same thing to be doing it together in company.
Just kind of sharing energy.
Yeah. And so I think even though like Juliet and I are not talking while we're working, but we're in the same house and the vibes are good.
Yeah.
That's an Evel Knievel jump. Thank you both for saying yes and finding a new friend in the intimate space of creativity.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the thrill. Should I say thrill? You said Evel Knievel. That's part of the joy of coming to a residency. But, I think I said on the first day to Molly, like, I'm not socializing very much because it felt like also this time is so precious. And maybe I went a little like, I was overprotective. but we were acquainted before coming here, which I think also helped. Just, hey, how's it going? What's going on? I know Molly's work pretty well. So it just helps to exchange ideas or just hear how was your day, just debriefing a little bit every day. That's really nice. It is really solitary act, as are many art forms, right? Visual art can be that way too. And you need friends, for sure.
What is bringing you joy in your work these days?
I feel
I
like
love
that's
that
what we've
question.
been talking about this whole time.
Thank you for that question. I lose track of that, especially writing about politics. I'll confess, I'm writing about the year 1979. The end of 79 as it segues into 80, and I'm trying to also juxtapose it with what is happening right now, politically, culturally, socially. But one thing that has given me joy is writing about disco, but specifically the history of disco. And as we're coming up on Pride, disco, for those of you who don't know, is really deeply linked with gay liberation, with queer Black politics. And there's a particular song that I was trying to write about this week, Donna Summer's I Feel Love, which I was a little kid when I first heard that song, and it blew my mind. And then that song has followed me in every queer space I can imagine through full adulthood. And it's become an anthem and a hymn, and that has brought me joy, just to like play that song, remember that song, write about that song. And it's reminded me of how deeply music, though maybe this just seems obvious, but music has been such a core part of my life as an artist and a person, even though I don't play music or dance or anything, but it's key.
Maybe dance a little when that song comes
Yeah,
on.
I do that privately, yeah.
I love that answer.
And I think like that was a really good answer, and I don't have a really good answer, but I think sort of in the same category as arriving here without knowing what I was going to do, I brought my camera and my embroidery and reading. And I didn't have hobbies before the pandemic sort of made it okay for grown-ups to do things poorly. And as a perfectionist and, all of that, I have always sort of stuck to what I already know how to do and what I can do well, and just only done that. So during the part of the pandemic where everybody was like trying out sourdough and whatever, I was doing what I called bad bird drawings, and drawing a bird every day poorly because I don't have visual art training at all, and I don't particularly have skills in that arena, and it has absolutely nothing to do with my professional life or my concept of myself. It doesn't matter. It didn't have to matter. It could just be like, why not? Let's draw some bad birds. So I did some bad birds every day for a year. And then I kind of wore out of that. But I thought, okay, what if it was just fun to make stuff? And what would I like to make, So I got more into taking photos, and I don't consider myself a photographer. I'm going to confess to you that I really don't know how my camera works. I am totally an amateur. I'm making it up, and that's fine. It doesn't have to matter.
That's right.
So I'm out there taking pictures, and, most of them are crap, and it's fine. But it's fun, and it makes me pay attention on a walk to everything that I'm seeing, and then I enjoy going back and looking at them later and thinking about it again. And then embroidery is my new one. So I don't have to be good at that either. It doesn't matter. It's just, and people always are really fast to reassure you, like, no, these are good. Like, these are good. And I'm like, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
They don't have to be good. Like, I'm glad that they're not terrible, but like, it doesn't matter. So I've been stitching my chamomile flowers on the deck with the robin mama and, making stuff just because it's fun to make stuff. And then I ended up in the creek today, and then I was rock hunting, and Juliet and I were talking about agate hunting, which is my other favorite thing to do. Am I a geologist? Absolutely not. But I like looking for pretty stuff, and I'm willing to get my feet wet. So I found some cool, possibly chert today in the creek. I don't really know what it is, but it's pretty. So I'm excited about that. And I don't think any of this is unconnected from the writing. I think it's all, the impulse to make stuff. I guess I didn't make the chert, but it's no longer on the creek bed.
And there's a spirit of appreciation underneath all of that too,
yes.
For the wonder of life and presence. All of those things kind of force you into the moment to really savor it. I'm a bad watercolorist and have my little watercolor kit that I take with me when we travel. And it is one thing to take a photograph of something, and it is another thing to sit and draw it. And now I'm looking at the shadows, and I'm looking at the texture, and I'm really paying attention to the palette of what's going on. What is the light doing? And it pulls you into it in a way that is so different than, ooh, isn't that pretty? And you just kind of keep going.
I love that. Good for you. And do people go, oh, but they're good?
Yes, of course.
And you're like, it doesn't matter.
I'm like, here, you can have it.
And that's joy.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
is joy.
Yeah.
I love both your answers.
Thank
We have a traditional question to end our podcast, and I'll ask it to both of you. And that is, how have you experienced beauty today?
I just told you I found a really cool rock
Was that today?
in the creek. That was today. Yeah, my boots are still drying out there on the deck. How have I experienced? But yes, all of those things. And then I wrote a poem about ending up in the creek. So it's all connected.
It's all connected. I love that. How about for
Will
you?
you answer the question?
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
I think all four of us should.
Yeah,
Okay.
please. Go ahead. I'm thinking.
Bill always accuses me of being the question asker so I can avoid answering the questions.
Yeah.
He might be right. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The little door and window over the deck over the garage is my studio. And I have a big project that I'm working on currently. And so it's kind of been stuck at my computer by the window. And I've just been longing to go outside because the sun has felt so just delicious, especially after all the rain that we've had. And the light in my room today particularly has just been so beautiful and bright. And I had two kind of surprise phone conversations with a friend and a relative that kind of called out of the blue that were deep and expansive, and I'm thinking about you, and this is exciting me, and pulled me away from the work back into the moment. And I think that was my moment of beauty today, those conversations and savoring the sunlight in the room.
Well, if sort of early morning, maybe late, I don't know what time it was, maybe not quite dawn, right? If that counts as a day. There's so many birds here, so I'm really excited about that. But there's some owls that are having conversations frequently. And this morning, they seemed really close, and they woke me up. And I don't, the other times I've heard them, they woke me up and I was kind of irritated, to be honest with you. And then today I was like, they're here. I don't know, it was just a moment of, oh, I'm so grateful those owls are out there talking to each other. So that was my moment.
I am super bummed that I slept through the owl.
What? They're
It's
loud.
such a sweet sound,
Yeah.
but they are loud.
They're loud. You haven't heard them.
I've yet to notice them too.
That's my really deep sleep moment, like that early morning.
There's coyotes too.
Oh my god.
Those I hear.
Yeah. They're also loud.
Yeah.
And turkeys.
A lot of turkeys.
A lot of turkeys.
Warren, how have you experienced beauty today?
Well, I was just raking grass clippings earlier to go mulch my watermelons in the garden, and I went in and there was a beautiful little yellow blossom on a plant, and I thought about how, hopefully one day that will turn into a watermelon. So that's how I've experienced beauty today.
I love it.
Yay.
It's like the little
Is that
robin
rain
babies.
on
It's
the roof
rain
of
on
the
the roof.
barn.
Yeah.
And that's another.
There we go.
Moment.
We're having it right now. Ready? Can they hear that in the podcast?
I think they will.
Yeah.
Accompanied by the birds. That's a moment of beauty for all the listeners now, too.
Mm-hmm.
We've really enjoyed having you both here this week.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for saying yes.
Thank you for having us. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's been a pleasure.
Please stay in touch. We want to know how your work meets the world. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Conversations from the Barn at Everwood Farmstead. Our theme music is provided by John Mark Nelson. Wishing you all good health.